Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University. What's that? Remember when people used to say that? Remember how easily amused we used to be way back in the day? Oh man. So, ooh, excuse me. Suan, you're here. I guess you decided not to sleep. Suan and I and a couple others were talking like freaking forever not too long ago. Mostly excuse me, hiccups. Mostly Game of Thrones, but yeah. Anyway, um, what we got here? Bunch of big comics expertise. What's going on, Wilfredo? How you doing, brother? Um, yeah, he is on top of his game, Zardowski, isn't he? So we are going to be talking about the uh, Fantastic Four, the X-Men plus Fantastic Four book by Zardowski in a minute. First, we're going to give a little respect to the Marauders, issue number 7. This is one of my consistently favorite books. I know it's like, the X-Men is awesome, and X-Force is awesome. A bunch of really awesome books out there, but like this one particularly is the one that I follow and just like, dude, don't let this end. It's the most innovative of all the ideas, in my opinion. we still don't know why. We still don't know why Kate can't phase, but whatever, man. I'm willing to wait a year to find out why she can't, excuse me, not phase, why she can't go through the portal, whatever. I honestly just don't even care. I look at this as, this is a freaking awesome book. I love the concept behind this and everything. We also get a White Knight in here. No, not the Comicsgate version. No, we actually get Emma's White Knight in this one, and happens to be on the cover. There's a gorgeous cover. A lot of us have been wondering where are the um, what do you call it? The Marauders, the Morlocks in this. Where are they? Well, it turns out they're chilling out on one of Donald Trump's golf courses. Who'd have thunk it? Um, anyway, no, they're chilling out in some golf course country club. Like that's their big thing. Okay, cool, digging on it. So let's get started on this one. Jerry Duggan is the writer, Stefano Caselli on art, Edgar Delgado doing the colors, VC's Corey Petit doing the letters, Tom Mueller doing the design, Dauterman and Matthew Wilson doing the cover art, Nick Russell on production, and the head of X is Jonathan Hickman. And for the sake of conversation, I am the foot of X. This issue is called From Emma with Love. Don't like that they titled this one From Emma with Love because Emma doesn't do anything in this. Not really. I mean, she assigns Callisto, and that's pretty much everything here. First off, there's this message over here that's sent to Kitty. They talk about what do you call it? The Potomac, like it threw something in the Potomac. That's a river in Washington D.C. What do you call all this stuff? I think that in general, this is that CIA agent that we've been talking about, that we've been seeing talking to apparently no one. So now he's actually shooting a text message to Kitty to let her in on some stuff. Are we ever going to find out who this guy is? Maybe, maybe not. Don't know. I almost don't care. I think it'd be great if it turns out this was actually a mutant who was, trying to go low key, right? At some point, that would be freaking awesome. But in the meantime, they do throw this in here. I dig this. I love that there's this really disgruntled CIA agent who's like sending off some stuff once in a while. I love that. So Callisto walks in. She's hanging out. She's like, "Yep, this looks like something that Emma would do." And then hangs out with like Jumbo Carnation, who's making stuff for Emma Frost over here, and she's like practically naked. She's got this huge wardrobe, but she always wears the same thing. Nothing. What's up with that? Not that I'm complaining, but what do you call it? At one point, Carnation's weird, man. She goes, what do you call it? Callisto goes and slices up the coat, and then she puts it on, so it's like a weird sort of lab jacket slash duster. And Carnation's all like, "Oh my god, it's amazing! It's so beautiful!" It's nothing. It's like it doesn't look that damn great. It's like whatever, I don't have a problem with it, but it's nothing like super special. It's whatever. But that being said, I do hope that when they finally make a Marvel Legends figure of her, that they actually decide to throw in that coat. Otherwise, look how easy it'll be to make. So, uh, what do you call it? They shipped to port. Mind you, we're assuming that Kitty was killed in this at some point, but she's going to go and she's going to make her presence known. Hey, I'm the new White Knight, and blah blah blah. And it's mostly implied more than anything else. She gets into the little reminder with everybody, and of course, right down here, Storm. The big thing is with Storm. If you guys remember, back in the early days of the X-Men, the first introduction of the Morlocks, Storm and Callisto. Storm, without her powers, mind you, had to go at it one-on-one against Callisto for control of the Morlocks because there was a dispute about what they should be doing necessarily. They they got into a fight and Storm wound up winning because Storm's a badass. So the leadership of the Morlocks actually went to Storm. I don't remember if that ever changed at any point, but regardless, I love that, it looks like they hate each other and she throws a knife at her face and she just catches the knife. And it's like, what'd she say? Goddess. And when Storm catches the knife, which was aimed at her throat, she's like, Morlock. And then they hug. It's like, um, didn't have you pegged for this gig, back at you. And they just like they're friends. They love each other. And I love that. I absolutely love that about them. And the best part is Pyro over here, his commentary. They just whipped knives at each other's faces. No wonder the Brotherhood never finished off the X-Men. Like, that's a great line. That's a freaking great line. It's like you guys were coming up and shooting little flames and like nothing moves the block. Like, that's silly stuff. And meanwhile, the X-Men are hardcore, man. Oh, dude. So this was cool. Over here, the Iceman thing, whatever. They're still trying to look for a name. This is something that I don't dig. Um, Here's something that's weird, and I don't care, but it is what it is. But like, I guess it's like the only thing. Jerry Duggan, I think I saw on Twitter that Jerry Duggan's married to a woman. So here's the thing, in general, and I'm just guessing for the most part. When it comes to a guy writing a girl, he's going to write from a guy's perspective. There's only but so much you could do to write from a girl's perspective, right? When adults write kids, sometimes they can be really fun, but for the most part, you're an adult. It's going to be kind of hard to write for kids. I hope you have a lot of kids so that you can actually write better. It's one of the reasons why I like when Bendis writes kid stories. He has a lot of kids. I mean, like a lot of kids, a freaking household of kids. So, like he gets kids. All he does is he lives his life and then he writes about what he sees and then puts capes on them. That's really it. So, like it is what it is. And I guess that when you're a straight guy, when you're writing for a gay character, the only story that you can really come up with, and yes, this is a criticism of Duggan until I see better. The only thing you can come up with is, oh, Iceman's gay. We've got to talk about his gay relationships. You know that he's a very storied character who's actually first appearance along with all of the X-Men. He's an original X-Men. He's been around since the 60s. You could probably do more with Iceman than just we've got to have him going up and kissing a guy in this at some point. I don't care. I don't believe in the whole they're trying to push a gay agenda. What agenda? What the hell are you talking about? I don't care about that nonsense. But can we do more than that with this guy? And plus, sometimes we ignore storylines that we in general don't like, right? Alfred just appeared on the screen in the most recent what do you call it, Justice League issue number 40 that just came out. Venditti's on the book now, and he had Batman talking to Alfred. Cool. Alfred's dead, right? He's been dead for a couple months, and like you go check out my review on that. But it's like he just ignored a story. The way I look at it is you just ignored a storyline that nobody likes. Saying that for the most part, nobody really dug. And there's a lot of storylines that we do wind up washing over. It's like, oh, just ignore that storyline. That happens a lot in comic books, It's not about continuity. It's about the continuity that we like. So in this particular case, I'm wondering, when Cynic Grace wrote those 2 volumes of Iceman, in the final issue that I read, the issue that I'm just like, I've had enough. I can't read this nonsense anymore. Cinna had Iceman go and hang out with Emma Frost, and Emma Frost's brother Christian, who who Iceman is kissing in this, like that's the relationship that he's got, just got finished killing his father. There was no punishment for this. I don't care how evil the guy apparently was, or whatever. He didn't hug me enough. This is like the Menendez brothers, and I literally look at this as for me, this is just terrible writing. Who does this? Who does this? So I'm just literally not. I wish I could ignore Chuck Austin's. Good comment. I dig on that. I dig on that. Yeah. See, there's so much more to Iceman than just his relationship. Um, just in case you forgot. And again, I don't have a problem with him being gay. Honestly, I don't. I know that was Bendis also. I really don't have a problem with that. They weren't doing anything with Iceman, and Bendis just decided, you know what? Let's just make the guy gay. You know, saying maybe that'll help spruce up the character. The problem is, all they did was say, yes, now we got something to do with him. We can have him kissing people. He was kissing people before. You literally aren't doing anything, not one thing different with Iceman. So I don't see the point in it. Come on in, Bagel. Yes, you are loved. Yes, by me. Stop asking silly questions. Anyway, now I have the mutant power to talk to my cat. Only my cat. I'm the bagel whisperer. So anyway, I don't care about the kissing or the gay or anything. I honestly don't care. Whatever it is, what it is. Like just do something with the character other than he's kissing people. But more than that, he's kissing this character. He's with this character. This character, Christian, younger brother of Emma Frost, just murdered his father. No punishment for it, no repercussions, and it's like, oh, I'm really attracted to father murderers. Okay, I don't know what the hell is happening with Iceman anymore, and this is about as frustrating as frustration gets. You know, so I'm not digging on this at all. Empress Bagel, bang. So anyway, you move on to the comic book, and what do you call it? They're paying attention to what's going on with the X-Men on the island. Hey, Alan Russett, what's going on? Good day, Professor. Did you ever track down Orc of the Great White North? Yes, I did, and I gave Andrew an earful, and he laughed about it. But I was kind of serious. He didn't take me seriously, but I was actually a little bit angry about it. But anyway, yes, I did get it, and I got all those issues. I am going to review them when he's ready to do his next Kickstarter. So, um, anyway, this one Joker, the Verendi guys, the Hominus Verendi guys, they go and they hang out with the ambassador of Russia because, of course, Russia's got to be the main bad guy. Why not? Anyway, he goes and he does this hand gesture at the end. So he's all like, Verendi. Remember when you were a kid, you used to have the cool handshake with your pal, be like, oh man, yeah, boom, boom, ba, ba, da, da, ba. Yeah. Like you had to have the stupid cool handshake, right? It was the secret handshake that you did in public all the time. You know what I'm saying? This ain't like no freaking Freemasons. You know what I'm saying? No, this is weird. This is weird. But at the same time, they're kids, right? So this is weirdly perfect. Like he's talking to the ambassador of Russia. Just think about that. The Russian ambassador. He's like, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and we can provide you with information. All right, because we're your people. Hey, Verendi. Could you imagine if Donald Trump went to go and meet somebody and just simply throwing up like a peace sign? It would be weird seeing Donald Trump doing like a peace sign like that, right? Not just, okay, what's going on, everybody? Hey, I'm not a crook. I'm not a crook, right? The similarities to Nixon. Um, what do you call it? Instead of him just being like, that would be the freakiest thing I ever imagined. So you can imagine Obama doing it because he was kind of childlike. He's like, like me, please like me. This is that Obama moment. Please like me, please love me, accept me. Oh my God. So it's weirdly perfect. That is, Verendi. I love how stupid that is. It's awesome. It's something that a kid would do. Bishop, of course, he's got eyes in the sky, so he could see that the gates to Madripoor are heavily guarded. Now, that looks like a regular old grenade where he could jack some people up, which I guess is fine because these people are armored. And he comes in and he just starts shooting every single one of them down. And all of a sudden, the one dude that was there originally, Manuel and Enduque, I guess that's how you pronounce his name, he shows up and he's like, I'm going to knife you to death. It's like, you do realize I'm Bishop, right? He's the red. He's actually accepted being the red bishop for the most part, and he just literally beats the crap out of the guy. But here's how stupid this Enrique guy is. He shows up and he's like, "Hey, I'm not afraid of you. Kill no man, right? You literally just played your cards. You literally just played your cards. This is the one card that you had that you knew that he can't kill you, and you decide to tell him that you know? Not too bright, right? So anyway, Bishop just breaks his freaking face and throws him on the ground. He's like, that kill no man doesn't mean f up no don't f up no man. So anyway, and he finds this thing for a shipping document for Madripoor. He goes over, and not him, but somebody. Actually, it is Bishop. What do you call it? So he goes over. You can actually see the M thing there. So he actually goes and he infiltrates this thing. Oh, Captain wants to see you. Interesting. He's a regular old guard, but the captain wants to see him. I think they're on to him. But we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, so here's the Morlocks at the golf course, the country club, hanging out. There's Mask. We haven't seen Mask in half near forever, so that's cool that we actually get to see Mask again. It's just a cute little silly moment with, oh, of course, the former supermodel, doesn't know that that's not how you win the game, and it's not called a touchdown. It's called a hole in one, and just whatever, man. Anyway, then from the desk of the office, the secret, blah blah blah, stuff like that. This they came to the dead vote for the first time because Sinister over here, he just votes present as opposed to doing something serious, and Kitty, who's actually on the council, isn't there, because she's potentially dead. We don't know if she can actually be resurrected or not, because if the Krakoa stuff isn't working for her, then they might not be able to resurrect her. It is the Krakoan, like, those four, technically six, the four who actually go around resurrecting people, and she would get priority because she's one of the Silent Council. If none of the Krakoan stuff doesn't work, like the gates and whatnot, then maybe all the Krakoan stuff doesn't work. Those four can't resurrect somebody without the technology, the organic technology of Krakoa. So that's kind of a big deal. Anyway, there's a fishing village. They're hanging out, and they find what appears to be the dead body of Lockheed. That's freaking sad. And I just want to whoop, like, I'm the foot of X, right? I want to whoop the hell out of freaking Sebastian Shaw. Because this scene over here, like, it's just a reminder of why he's so cocky right now. Why he's so cocky that, hey, this vote came to a dead, and they don't even say what the vote was about. They're just like, yeah, in general, here's a vote. And it's to Sebastian Shaw's favor that the vote wasn't actually finished. So cool. Since it's a deadlock, we good. Let's see. Over here, we've got the. Does anybody have anything else to say about that? I don't know who any of those people are. Just some guy. Viclops X-Men. No politics, please. Comic books are politics. You're saying in the chat. Oh, yeah, in general, whatever it is, what it is. But honestly, Viclops, the chat is the chat. As long as nobody's being hateful or disrespectful to each other, you can just hide the chat if you want. I don't really mind if people talk politics as long as they're civil, which unfortunately does seem to be an oxymoron, right? So hard to disagree with you. Anyway, let's go on this right here, guys. The X-Men Fantastic Four. This is, like, I want to say this is my pick of the year. I don't know how anything else is going to beat this, except that there are 3 more issues of this coming out. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get into this, like I said, practically page by page, panel by panel, spoiler by spoiler. Chip Zdarsky is the writer. Terry Dodson does the pencils. The inks are Rachel Dodson, the Dodsons. Dexter Vines and Carl Story do the ink assists. Laura Martin on colors. The letters is VC's Joe Caramagna. Terry Dodson does the Dodsons do the cover, and a bunch of variant covers. Carlos Lau production, and Fantastic Four and X-Men were created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Okay. Page by page, panel by panel, the amazing details of this incredible freaking story. So anyway, we get a quick little backdrop of what's been happening in Dan Slott's world, Dan Slott's Fantastic Four, which, by the way, I've been railing for the longest time before they even announced that the Fantastic Four book was coming up, that it should have been Zdarsky on the book. Met the guy a couple of times. The man's knowledge of the X-Men is of the Fantastic Four is unsurpassed, and he genuinely loves the characters. It would not just be a job for him. I wouldn't be surprised if he did the job for free. I hope Marvel's not listening to that because they might make that offer. Anyway, the man should do it. He should get paid for it. We get a quick little Quentin Quire's a jerk in here. The Cuckoos decide to blast his head really quick and be like, eh. So, yeah. And they're like, Professor X needs to see you there, kitty. Come on by and be a pal. So she shows up. Everybody's thinking that she's in trouble or something like that. But no, in reality, it's all about Franklin Richards. So the Fantastic Four is his son, their first child. Anyway, Professor X and Magneto. First off, y'all notice Magneto down here? You remember this old uniform? This is the uniform he wore when he was a part of the X-Men back in the trial of Magneto. Do you remember that? Like, I saw this and I practically freaked. I'm like, are you kidding me? Later on, he puts on his regular white armored form, which I'm like, all right, whatever. But it's cool to know that he hangs out wearing that that armor. I think he was also wearing that during the big Asteroid M stuff. But like that's the clothing set that he was wearing. I'm like, dude, that is freaking awesome. I love that. Anyway, so Kate is hanging out here. Clearly, this is before or after the whole, Marauders thing. It is what it is. And they're like, listen, you were really close with Franklin Richards. Now, the last time we had a book called X-Men Fantastic Four, it wasn't X-Men plus Fantastic Four, it was X-Men versus Fantastic Fours. 4 issues. It was very interesting. A lot of it was based off of the recent Secret Wars stuff and a whole bunch of other stuff that happened. Colossus was stuck in his armored form and he needed help to get out of his armored form, and Kitty Pryde was stuck in her phased form. And since she was phased, some of her molecules disassociate. She was actually starting to phase more and more to the point where there was a chance that she wasn't going to exist anymore. And they actually needed Dr. Doom and Reed Richards. They went to the Reed Richards, help us out. Turns out Dr. Doom and Reed Richards together had to actually figure everything out. It was a really great story. Maybe I'll do a spotlight and story for that one of these days because it's totally freaking worth it. I love it. Love it. Love it. Or what do you call it? Yeah, you're right. The fallout from the mutant massacre, Alan Russett, all of that good stuff. So yeah, because everybody really got jacked up during that. Oh, something that I forgot to mention also is the Morlocks. They in the Marauders, this issue of the Marauders, they touched on the idea that they call the boat the Marauder, and the Callisto and Mask, both Morlocks. They're talking about it's like, what's up with that? Why did she name it the Marauder? They basically gave her a mulligan on that one. What's her name? Callisto's like, look, she was put on the spot. She was drunk. She was put on the spot. She literally took the one thing that hurt her the most. So she mentions, so she just says the Marauder, called the Marauder. You know what I'm saying? So we'll just give her a pass on that one. I was totally cool with that. I was totally cool with that. So anyway, we've got the idea that these two actually developed a friendship. Franklin Richards used to actually come and talk to and hang out with Kitty Pryde when she was stuck in that tube and she was in permanent phase before she was able to get fixed, so to speak. And they actually developed a cool relationship. Now, how come they haven't done anything between then and now? Well, that's not on Zdarsky. You know what I'm saying? So I literally, they actually address like, oh, we haven't gotten to see each other that much. And it's just left at that. Maybe it could have gone into more detail, but that's not up to Chip. That's just, it is what it is. He's drawing on that. And honestly, shame on the rest of Marvel for not doing something with that. I mean, if we're going to start, pointing fingers, you got to point a really wide ranging finger for that. There's a quick little thing with Wolverine on here, which is funny, I guess. Can't wait for the Wolverine book to come out so that we can actually have some Wolverine in some books. Anyway, so we get Reed in 4 Yancey Street hanging out. This is where it's going to start getting a lot more detailed, all right, where it's spoiler by spoiler. Reed is having a good conversation with his son right there, Franklin, and he's like, I can't seem to find what's wrong with you. I'm looking, I'm studying, and I just can't seem to figure it out. Who's the one other character that this reminds you of? The one other interaction? Reed Richards and the Thing. Ben Grimm. He's right above my head, right there. But anyway, like that's always been the big deal in the Marvel universe. Reed Richards can solve every problem in the world except turning Ben Grimm back into Reed Richards. Reed Richards. Sorry, I just got a Facebook message. Um, he can literally fix every problem in the world except fixing Ben Grimm and making him so he could turn human. The best he could do is once per year, you can turn back into Ben Grimm for a week. And yeah, so he's trying to help out Franklin. See, Franklin is basically Omega level of reality manipulation, more so even than the Scarlet Witch. Because if you remember, like some people may argue, but if you remember, like House of M was the greatest display of her powers for the most part. Excuse me. Besides freaking out the um, sorry, Bagel's moving in really weird ways now. And she's moving stuff as she's trying to sleep on my comic books. She's allowed to. She's the only person who's allowed to. Anyway, Scarlet Witch had the power to do reality manipulation. We found out, it wasn't chaos magic; it was reality manipulation. Um, the House of M thing was actually Professor X being involved with, like in her mind to expand her powers and to consciously affect everybody's reality. So that was both their powers together. So aside from freaking out a Phoenix Force thing, that's literally the expanse of her powers. Although very impressive powers, her range is not the same. Franklin, meanwhile, has created universes. So, there's that. But lately his powers have been slowly depleting. And it doesn't even seem to be like the more I use them, the more that they fall apart. It's like they're just actually depleting on their own right now. He doesn't want to not be, super powerful. And he's that powerful because he's a mutant. Go figure. It's also important to, well, I think it could also be important because Zardosky likes to play on those subtle little things that nobody really pays attention to. The Fantastic Four have been referred to as mutates. So they're not mutants, although they have been mutated. Very different from all the other altered humans in the Marvel Universe. They are mutates. Something was very different about them. Now, currently, they're doing this thing with the Overseer in the book, and I'm not reading Dan Slott's books. So, I honestly, if it doesn't matter here, it doesn't matter to me at all. You know what I'm saying? I can't read every book, and I'm really not interested in that. It is what it is. So anyway, Franklin is having a very similar vibe that Ben Grimm used to have back in the day. Mind you, he's an anxious little teenager. And he's just like, well, hey, man. Sorry, let me just. Gotcha. What do you call it? He's bothered. He's like, you can fix every problem in the world except for mine. Later on, you'll see he's actually talking to the Thing about the exact same thing, which is interesting. But, Franklin's upset. He is, hormones. He is full of testosterone. He's full of just being a freaking kid, right? Um, so Sue is trying to, to comfort, what's his name? Blah, 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 Reed in here. And yeah, anyway, so there's this theory that there's this God power, okay? And all the members of the Fantastic Four have some kind of access to this God power. And Franklin would have that also. But here, I love that they use the engineering symbol for an open circuit. These are all closed circuits. You can obviously, attach everything, but this is an open circuit. It's a broken circuit. So there's something wrong, or at least there's a resistor there. That's what actually should be there. They should show that there's a resistor there, something that's slowly draining. Making it so that he doesn't have that direct contact with that God power anymore. It could be eternal. It could be that they need to actually pay attention to Valeria, because why wouldn't Valeria have that? Right? But anyway, Franklin is a mutant, and yeah, there's this big thing going on. So now, yeah, this is the thing where he's in here and he goes and he mentions, and he's like, Ben considers what he's saying, because he's like, how come the only problems he can't fix are you and me? Meanwhile, he can fix every single little problem in the world except for you and me. And Ben actually stops and he thinks about it, like up here, and then here he's like, just don't go there. Don't go there, kid. I've already been down this path. Once you go down this path, it's hard to recover from it. I dig on that like crazy, man. I dig on that like crazy. So then all of a sudden we break into Wolverine touching an invisible force field. You know what that means. And this just it breaks right into a really crazy scene with Sue blocking the X-Men from being able to get into her house for Yancey Street. Just stay away, just stay away. It seems a little bit weird, right? But this is a mother, it's a very protective mother. It is what it is, you know? So um here's something that's really special about this. All right. And I have seen a couple other people talked about it too, and I didn't want to give spoilers about it, but I'm gonna try and go into even more detail if possible. You look at who shows up and how they show up and when they show up. All of it is suspect. The X-Men decide to show up because at the end of the day, they can pretty much go wherever they want, right? They've got diplomatic immunity and they could just show and this is not really the way it's supposed to work. They're not supposed to just show up unexpectedly. If all of a sudden a plane with some, whatever, I don't know, Italian dignitaries show up in America, you'd want to announce yourself first. Hey, we're coming. Or are we invited? Can we be invited? We'd like to come and talk to you about such and such and such. That's the way it would usually work. The X-Men, they're really doing whatever they want. They're taking the run of the mill right now. It's like you've separated yourself from the rest of humanity by living alone in isolation, just X-Men on, being Krakoans at this point. And then you just come to other people's nations without invitations, without requests, without announcements. You just do what you want to do willy nilly. The whole idea of being humans superior really is starting to go to their head. Just a little bit, right? We got to be fair here. When they show up in full battle gear. I want you to think about this. They showed up for in the X-Men book with Apocalypse. Professor X was there barely talking. Magneto was there doing all the talking for the most part. And they showed up with Apocalypse. And they were all wearing suits. And it was a meeting, it was arranged, it was prearranged, and they showed up in suits. They're in a different kind of suit here. They're in their uniforms here. Oh my God, Alan. The God Switch thing was how Zardowski repowered Hercules after the Chaos War during his run on 2-in-1. The 2-in-1. Okay, you know what? If you're on the Discord, dude, please send me that so I can see that because I actually didn't remember that. I don't remember the conclusion. I remember the conclusion to the Chaos War. I don't remember what happened after all of that good stuff. So you know what? Honestly, please send me that one. That's not Zardowski's 2-in-1 with a thing, is it? That's how he repowered Hercules after that? That's interesting. Yeah, I got to remember that. Anyway, so yeah, please okay, then I think you need to be in the Discord. And let me see if I can find the link to the Discord to invite people. It is here. If you guys want to join the Comic Book University Discord, just follow the rules. The rules are don't be a jerk, and you're all invited. So anyway, where were we here? So they show up in their battle gear. Like I said, Magneto shows up. First off, you probably don't want to bring Magneto to the Fantastic Four thing, right? But they bring some of their big guns, and on purpose. Magneto shows up in his full gear. These two are not dressed in their tuxedos or their suits, their business attire. They straight up show all of this crazy stuff. That's nuts. What freaking happens? Okay, so let's focus on this now. Susan Storm is like, listen, hold on, and she really just wants to talk. And remember, a lot of what Susan Storm does is I've got to stop looking at the chat for a moment. Sorry, guys. A lot of what Susan does is subconscious. When she used to turn invisible, it was because she was embarrassed. She was afraid. She didn't realize that she had the telekinetic abilities, the ability to use force fields until several issues later. In real life, it's because people said she's useless. She just turns invisible. Who cares? She's useless. It's one of the first times that characters actually broke the fourth wall in a comic book. Like it was crazy. Jack Kirby and Stan Lee actually have the FF talking to the audience saying, she's not useless. How dare you? She's a very valuable member of the team. That's why Reed still slapped her every once in a while when she was hysterical and had to put her in her place, right? Reed's a jerk. Reed would not be allowed in my Discord. He would find a way in regardless, but he is not allowed in my Discord. Anyhow, um, what do you call it? So, uh, where was I exactly? Anyway, yeah. So they show up, with Sue Storm, she's keeping them back because like this is just it's a nervous thing to do. Whoa, whoa, you guys stop! And then by just simply saying stop, she's actually making them stop. She's trying to control her environment, but I think it's more of a subconscious thing, and she just can't calm it down right now. Her emotions are high because I guess in some ways she knew this day was coming. Everybody knows that Franklin is a mutant. Every single person knows. Plus, if you remember the first issue of House of X, which was the first issue of the Hoxpox books, um, Cyclops, after the Freedom Force, so to speak, was getting away after a break-in of some sort. That's where Sabretooth apparently went and killed a bunch of people. And anyway, they went in. Sabretooth was stuck there. Cyclops came out and singularly decided to face the X-Men or the Fantastic Four. There wasn't a fight. There could have been, and I'm just like, I don't think that Cyclops can actually take down all of the Fantastic Four. I'm wondering, like, are more people going to come? Like, what's going? Can they see through this thing? Can they see what's going on? And because, like, wow! But he walked down and it's just like, hey guys, what's up? Oh, I see you got one of our guys. You know that he's actually ours, right? He has diplomatic immunity. Yeah, you can't. Maybe he had. I don't think that they actually had the diplomatic immunity at the time. But anyway, yeah, all that good stuff, and it was something else, right? And one of the things he says was, hey, we're going to have to talk about Franklin one of these days. Set up. And now that it's actually happening and it's Sardusky doing it, yay! So these guys are all having their thing. Professor X shows up, Magneto shows up. They're all in their war gear. It's freaking Sue out. The rest of the Fantastic Four comes out like, yo, what's up here? And that's when all of a sudden Kitty shows up. Kitty phases right through her force field. Now, this is where I actually need the chat because I've asked a couple people individually. Does anybody have a recollection of Kitty phasing through somebody's force field before? Because I can't recall that at all. I'm actually going into like exasperating detail about this because I'm trying to think the first time that Iron Man had a force field woven into his armor. A lot of people don't realize that about Iron Man. He actually has a force field that's always on, woven through the fabric of his armor, which solidifies it even more than regular armor would, steel or whatever, titanium, whatever he's using. So that's actually really freaking interesting. Anyway, I've never seen her phasing through that Silver Centurion armor. I don't think I've ever seen her phasing through that Silver Centurion armor. I'm trying to remember like the X-Men versus the Avengers. I don't recall that happening, you know? Um, I don't remember her ever being able to phase through a force field. So is this suggesting that she's more powerful now? Or is it just, no, she's always been able to do that? Because that's interesting. Um, yeah, there are things that are unphasable. Yes, he has a stiffening field. He has a regular force field also, Alan, but he also has the stiffening field, like you're saying. But anyway, what do you call it? Yes, there are things that are unphasable. For instance, yes, right there, vibranium is unphasable. It's just because it absorbs, the vibrations, and if you're going to vibrate your molecules in order to phase through something, or separate them, they're still out of phase. So phase variance, sound, um, all of it, it's all the same. It's all related. You know what I'm saying? Just you even just think about the human body, the human ears. Our eardrums are really just the sounds that go through our skull, like that hole. That's not a hole that goes directly down and whatnot. That's actually our skull. That hole only goes but so far. You know what I'm saying? Like we're actually hearing through bone. There's actually bone in our ears. So all of that, like that it's all got to do with vibration. Sound is just vibration, and there's only but so much you can do. Force fields are supposed to be something that is a huge, huge thing. Gore Vidal is in my chat. Wow, that's impressive. Anyway, um, good question, Viclops. Um, anyway, Yeah, this is just something that I'm noticing. Like I said, I'm going to take this down point by point. This seemed like it's something different. Is this a mistake or is this just wow, she's even more powerful than she ever was before? Because you should not be able to phase through force fields. I don't care if it's density manipulation, I don't care if it's actually phasing, I don't care if it's super speed vibration. That should be impossible. Force fields cannot be phased through. So the fact that she did, I'm wondering, mistake or just she's even more powerful now. Heck, she phased a freaking bullet through the earth. I think that's a big deal. Anyway, so they go in and they actually have tea. They're civil about it at first, but not for very long because Magneto decides to open his freaking mouth. Look, I Sue Storm is a special case. And I love me some Sue Storm. She is powerful enough that with one of her invisible force fields in the form of a cylinder, she can actually take out one shot a celestial. Wow. All right. A celestial. To show power levels, Cyclops went against a celestial once, and he used full force optic blast in order to blow off the hand of a celestial, which was a big deal at the time. Like, dude, is Cyclops really that powerful? It was about to, potentially give a thumbs down for that world, and he blew the hand off, not the thumb, the whole hand off. So it's just a stump, and it's like, oh well, let's leave. Like he did that. She one shot a celestial, slid up, boop, done. That genuinely makes her one of the most powerful creatures in the Marvel universe because Galactus took down one celestial also. Like that's a big freaking deal. Anyway, so when Magneto's like, oh hey, what's going on? I'm going to do what I want to do. Yeah, Magneto, master of magnetism. You're a really tough guy. And I'm Sue Storm. She puts him not even in any bubble, but a little tiny bubble and just sends him flying. Like, you better watch. I swear to God, I'm going to knock you out. I will straight knock you out, fool. That's what, like, things get out of hand. Yes, she did act first physically, but let's also remember this bully tactic. All right. We're all of us, for the most part, nerds in here, okay? And we've all seen that bullying tactic back in high school or whatever, or you've had a little sister or a little brother who, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you, stop it! What? I'm not touching you, right? So if someone's doing something like that, or somebody's, talking, you down, like, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Bullshit. Words do hurt. Words can hurt. It like that's the reason why we throw words at each other all the time. It happens. Not all of us were, made practically immune to it by being in the military. We're human beings. Words can hurt, so like, and he's talking about, yeah, we're going to take your kid. Imagine any one of us right now if Child Social Services, whether it's Canada, America, or wherever you're at, decided to come to your house, knock on the door, and say, yeah, we're going to need to look around. Hey, we've got a warrant, whatever. Like, we're here with police. We've got a complaint that this was not a fit ground for, your kids. You have to let them in. Otherwise, they arrest you at the door and come in anyway. They come in, they look around like, yeah, we don't like what's going on here. We're going to seize your kids. They're going to take your kids. Who amongst us would not completely freak out, right? And if we had certain abilities, we would use them. Sue has all of the abilities. So, yeah, that whole thing, like, I know there's some people like, well, she technically struck first. That is some straight up garbage right there. That's some crap. No, Magneto struck first. It's not that physical blow, it's all that other stuff that happens also. Um, you know what? That's actually a really good point right there. Pay attention to Rodimus Henry. I love the name. Nice, interesting take on Rodimus Prime. Um, so that's actually a really good point right there. Anyway, so you do not want to do this, Susan. Why? Because you don't think that Sue Storm could take out all of the X-Men there? Because I get the feeling that she could. The person who I think would have the best chance of taking her out, besides Kitty Pryde, who is a ninja and can apparently phase through her force fields, would be Wolverine, because he'd be the one who'd sneak up and be like, "Oh, guess what? You know what I'm saying?" Um, excuse me, outside, there's some people standing guard, and it's Thing and Storm. And I love that a Genosha comment was finally made because I've been saying it. A whole bunch of you in the chat have been saying, a whole bunch of Comic Book University alumni have been saying it. The last time that we gathered all the mutants together on an island didn't really go so well for everybody, did it? You know, it's like, and it was suspect anyway. It's like Genosha, the place of mutant slaves. Like that's really where you want to take this. That's where you want to go. Anyway, maybe Cyclops wasn't always right. Uh-oh, we're going to find that out soon on this channel. Anyway, so here's where it gets cool. Kitty says, listen, do you want to just get out of here? And Franklin's like, yeah, I kind of do. So she's like, okay, let's go. Like she asked his permission and grabbed him and then phased him through and they started flying and got the heck out of Dodge, right? I dig on that. Plus, you know, Storm and the Thing both see it and like, hey, what's going on? So they go down to where the Thing is. Anyway, there was a bunch of things that were actually being said in here. Actually, I think I just want to get rid of the comic book first, and then I'll talk about the actual things that were specifically said in here. Human Torch shows up and starts yelling in Kitty's face. And for me, I'm still in the Marvel Ultimate Universe where these two were an item. And what do you call it? You know, he's like yelling in her face. Storm just kind of blows him away. That kind of bothered me. Why? Because I want to see what Pyro can do. I want to see because Johnny Storm has some like unbelievable control over fire. A lot of people don't realize he's not just throwing fire and being fire and flying with fire. No. He can actually control flame also. But Pyro's whole thing is controlling flame. He can't even generate flame. He has to use other people's flame and then he controls that. I want to see what these two would do if they got into a fight with each other. Maybe that's being saved. I hope that's being saved because I want to see that in these stories. Anyway, Storm just kind of, man, get out of here with that crap. So all the X-Men and the Fantastic Four start going at it with each other. Wolverine's like, hey, man, yeah, I'm going to do such and such. Reed Richards like, man, shut up. Now, mind you, we have already seen, we haven't seen it actually done, but it has been said Wolverine's claws can cut his stretchy body. Okay, it's already been said that's a surety, and we've actually seen him cut the Thing's face off. So there's that. So Wolverine gets flung away really quickly. Wow, like when are we going to get a Wolverine comic book where we're going to actually see some cool Wolverine stuff? Anyway, Thing bashes the ice sled, so it takes out an Omega level mutant that easily. Whatever. These guys start going like everybody's fighting each other, and it's wild and it's awesome. Magneto's like throwing things at Sue Storm. Like, dude, not who you want to go at it with. Professor X is the only one who's actually trying to be cool here. The problem is, if you wanted to be cool, you would have come alone. Seriously, he would have come alone. Maybe had Gorgon with him. Maybe just had Cyclops. All of them, they're all controversial figures. Who would he have brought with him, right? Or just invited them to come to Krakoa. Oh, no humans allowed. Well, figure something out, man. Figure something out. Extend an invitation, something. But anyway, he goes in, like there's commentary there. I'm going to get into that. But Professor X is the only one actually trying to be level-headed here. He actually said earlier, he's like, listen, this violence needs to stop. Don't make me use my telepathy to start controlling people's minds to calm you guys down. You don't want to go there, man. No, he doesn't want to go there. That's why he's saying, please, the threat shouldn't have been made. It should have been fix things or I'll fix things. That's not the way. It's like, Reed, you can, he could have said, Reed, you could fix this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, all of it. Wolverine and the Thing do wind up going at it with each other. That was dumb. Franklin and Kitty are talking, and finally Franklin's like, you know what? I just got to make my own decision. He decides to run through the Krakoan gate, and it turns out he genuinely runs right through the Krakoan gate. You see, Reed Richards, I don't know if it was in this particular case, you know, where we saw in the beginning of the book where he was messing with his body, trying to figure him out. But in one of those sessions or another, he put some kind of a mask over him so that it would mask his X gene from Krakoa, or period. It's like he could walk in a room and somebody shine a mutant detector on him. It's like, oh, nope, I don't see a mutant here. You know, on to the next one. But anyway, that was something else right there. Valeria goes and makes a little commentary as she's doing a Rubik's sphere, or that be like a reed sphere. Anyway, maybe it's a Valeria sphere. She's like, yeah, listen, you just got to do what you want to do. And they go off and they decide that they're going to be stowaways on the Marauder. That is cool because this could actually be one of the missions that they already did. That would actually be really cool. But anyway, there are stowaways aboard the Marauder, but the Marauder isn't actually going back to Krakoa like they thought was going to happen. Plus, what are you going to do with Valeria, right? It'd be cool if they all of a sudden like, hey, wait a second, she is a mutant because I figure that she should be. This is just my opinion. She should be. But anyway, even if it's just her intelligence, her freakish intelligence is actually, the mutant thing, fine, whatever. I'm down with it. Anyway, Dr. Octopus shows up and starts taking, oh, wait, it's not Dr. Octopus, it's Dr. freaking Doom. And one of the best lines down here. Um, um, but I was born into, I was born a mutant, born to be with mutants, but I was born into the Fantastic Four, which means I have twice as many enemies. That's a great line. That is a great line from someone who knows the Fantastic Four better than probably anybody else in comics today. Also, rest in peace, rest in strength, Jerry Aguilan. What do you call it? With that amazing Cyclops that he used to draw. Like he really had that emotion on his face, man. Anyway, so there's a lot that happened in here. And a lot of this has to talk about, the average that we talk about is the Fantastic Four is comics' first family. It's not just Marvel's first family. That's the true first family in comics, And they've always been about family. Powerful, fighting Celestials, Negative Zone, the Mole Man, whatever they're fighting, it's always about the strength of family. The X-Men has always been about the strength of working together for a common cause, and it's literally us versus them, and them is everybody. Everybody. Even the people who are your friends could wind up turning around and stabbing you in the back because how many times have we actually seen that before, right? And it's also about the X-Men represent and have always represented every single minority group out there. It's one of the reasons why they were created by Stan Lee, probably one of the most pronounced SJWs ever. You know what I'm saying? Not with the modern connotation, but like the original connotation. You know what I'm saying? He was all about social justice. He was all about fighting for good causes. And that's what the X-Men was. That was really his main conduit for doing that, besides what he did with Captain America, but that's neither here nor there. Anyhow, so what you have is these two families. Here's about us as mutants. Here's about, no, this is your family. And this is really a conversation about social class. This is really a conversation about social class, okay? Because I know that there's all these small divides that we always talk about because that's what politicians want us to talk about. Oh, blacks, whites, browns, other browns. What do you call it? Browns, Asians, maybe. Maybe there's, you want to talk about, gays, straights, men, women, all these little things to divide us and keep us, at odds with each other, when in reality, the only true division in the world is social class, economic class, right? The haves and the have-nots. And the reason why they need there to be all this other manufactured division is because 1%, everybody else. Oh, they are outnumbered. They are outnumbered big time. So they need us to fight each other because they know they can't fight us. And they need us. They need us to be good little worker ants, And that is what I'm really seeing in this comic book. And all of these parts are actually coming out. Chip Zdarsky used to be a journalist up here in Canada. And he does, belong to certain groups that are like, oh, hey, check this out. Yes, you're 100% right, Alan, but that was that, and it wasn't meant to. That's why he didn't make every other character afterwards a mutant. But the idea was he always had that sort of idea. Remember, the whole purpose for the Black Panther was, hey, man, Uganda has all this uranium, and now with the Cold War between America and the United States after World War II, look, they're both trying to compound. They're both trying to build up uranium supplies so that they can enrich it and make atomic weapons. Um, and unfortunately, Uganda is being heavily exploited for that. Imagine if there was a country out there that would, be able to use their own natural resources in order to, because that's the whole purpose of, constantly messing with Africa, is they've got tremendous amounts of natural resources. It's a reason for colonialization and everything. So he said, hey, Uganda, Wakanda, uranium, vibranium. Everything was about something social justice, and it's just the idea of looking into that and seeing all that stuff. It's genuinely like, what I'm saying? Forever. Anyway, so here you have this thing, all these little tiny things that are dividing us. At the end of the day, we as comic book readers can say mutants, mutates, altered humans, sci-fi, tech, aliens, Asgardian gods, whatever. They're all characters with superpowers. They're all superheroes. What's the big deal? An alien might come down and look and say, these people like to have sex with each other. Those people like to have sex with each other. They, would both have sex with each other and have babies, but somehow they're against each other, and they're they have, what, problems with their skin color, so they argue about that. But they're all humans. I don't see why they're fighting with each other. You know what I'm saying? But even if we were all the same color and all the same gender and all the same sexual orientation, all the same whatever, if we're all the same, we would still find something to complain about. We would still find something to, and the top 1% would always do that. They would always, here's different ways, here's reasons for you to fight each other, discuss or fight. Here's weapons, enjoy. Um, but anyway, that's what's happening in here. You've got Franklin Richards, the one character who's realistically the ultimate tie between both worlds, and he's a kid, so he's not legally allowed to make his own decisions, right? You've got the X-Men, the Krakoan culture, which, once you come of age, you're over there now. That's it. You're one of us, right? You can now do what you want to do. Kind of sounds like the bar mitzvah or the bat mitzvah, right? But anyway, it sounds like the bar mitzvah, where at the end of the day, yeah, that's cute and all, but just because you turn 13 and by, let's say Jewish law, you're now an adult, try doing that, try going out and getting a beer, right? Try joining the military, right? Try making all the decisions that you want to let. No, it simply doesn't work. It simply doesn't work. So instead, um, there's the culture, of wherever you come from, and then there's the culture of where we're actually at, where, location wise in the world. So the X-Men trying to impose their culture on the Fantastic Four because technically he fits into both. Okay. So now you have Reed Richards here. Susan Storm is guilty of this too, but not nearly as much as Reed is, because Reed does think of this from a very mathematical standpoint, and he does have a hard time relating with regular people, including his own family, for crying out loud. He's never got time for anybody. You know what I'm saying? When do you ever see him sitting down, hanging out, and playing Legos with his kids? You never see that. He's always doing something for the most part, and reaching. That's always what he does. He reaches. So there's the parts in here where it's like, he says to Professor X, "You want to take my son right now. There's a time frame on you taking my son, and that makes me suspicious." Okay, that's cute. And even though it's accusatory, it's also still passive. Why not just simply ask, why now? Why now? Of all the times that you could come, why now? Why are you coming now? Maybe they could say, no reason, just now all of a sudden, blah, blah, blah. Or you can say, well, we've discovered that he's actually starting to lose his powers, and he has the right to his powers. It's part of his heritage as a mutant. They say, well, are you planning on using him for this, that, or the other thing? They can say, no, we're not. It's the idea that there can actually be a discussion now. Maybe there could be some kind of negotiation. Listen, he's my kid. I'm not going to just turn him over to you. And when he's 18, he can make the decision. He can do whatever he wants to do. But at the end of the day, listen, I understand you don't like the idea of mutants being over there. Sure, Dane, by all means, please show me that, because if you have one of those interviews, please show me one of those interviews. I would love to see one of those because I've never seen them. People bring them up. I've never seen them. Um, what do you call it? Anyway, so bang, that's what you have. I got to stop looking at the freaking chat. I got to stop looking at the chat. So anyway, they could have just had the dialogue. Hey, here's a negotiation. You don't allow mutants to come to Krakoa. Make an exception. Give me diplomatic immunity for a day. Let me come over and hang out. Don't take me into any of the super rooms with all your super organic tech or whatever. Or just, show that trust. Show that level of trust. You guys get to come over here, but we don't get to go over there. Come on. This isn't fair. And I hear you. I hear you. The problem is he doesn't respect them. Hear me out. He doesn't respect them for who and what they are. And the X-Men know this. Without reading their minds, they know this because this is humanity. This is humans. This is what's happening. You know what I'm saying? X lives matter, so to speak. When push comes to shove, what Reed Richards says is one of the most abhorrent things you could possibly say to an oppressed people. He says, things will eventually work out naturally. You could have just waited and things will work out naturally. You're leaving, you're going and forming your own, he calls it segregation. Segregation is something that's forced on someone else. When you do it voluntarily, that's just separation. I'm going to give a whole lot of credit to Wilfredo. That's he's in here somewhere. There he is, still here. To Comics Expertise, that's Wilfredo for actually bringing that up. And he showed in his own video. In fact, go and check out his channel. He actually has the Malcolm X quote directly of him pointing that out. And the Muhammad he's referring to is Elijah Muhammad, not the regular Prophet Muhammad from Orthodox Islam. Anyway, had the Muhammad Speaks books and the pamphlets. Anyway, so that's important to know. It's not segregation. That wasn't forced upon them. Genosha was something that was segregation. This is separated. They're just like, no, we're gonna go and do our own thing. We're gonna go into isolation because you know what? We're being persecuted. We're being oppressed, and it's easy for you to be at the top or at least close to the top and look down to any. Even if you're on the bottom. Look, if you're poor, if you're genuinely poor, and you don't always know if you're gonna have food in the refrigerator. You're still afraid of being poorer because there are people who don't have a refrigerator. You know what I'm saying? There are people who don't have a home to put the refrigerator in. There are people who are homeless on the streets. It's hard for us to think, but so far down how bad it can be and all the steps in between, right? But when you're up a certain level and you've always been at that level, you know what I'm saying? Like it's hard to really look back down again. Reed has always had the world at his fingertips for the most part. He was born, this isn't a mutant power of his. He was born the smartest person in the world. That's something that he's always had. Always. It's hard for him to look so far down. How can you not understand this? How can you not get this? I don't understand, right? There was an episode, I can't remember if it was the X-Files or something else. A woman with an eidetic memory, meaning she had what's called a photographic memory. But she wasn't smart. She was working as a waitress. So she didn't need to write anything down. I think this was X-Files. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on this. Maybe this was I think this was maybe The Fringe. This might have been The Fringe, that TV show. Anyway, she would just remember things. They're like, how come you're not working as a scientist? She's like, oh, I'm not like super smart or anything. I remember everything, but I can't really figure out a whole bunch of stuff. People always think that the two are related. That was genius right there. That's a genius idea. Because even I'm thinking to myself, man, photographic memory, you'd be the smartest person in the world. No, you just remember a whole bunch of stuff. It's much like what Joe Rogan says. You know what I'm saying? I'm not super smart. I just have a good memory and I'm willing to research stuff. Awesome. Freaking awesome. So anyway, this one particular character, she would remember all the bad things that people have done to her and she couldn't let them go because it's always there. And it's like, it must be really convenient to be able to forget about all the hurt and harm that you've done to me, as opposed to remembering it. And it's not like I'm leaning on it. Was it Heroes? Might have been. That was on House. You know what? It was on all the TV shows. Okay. So anyway, you guys are awesome. But yeah, that was the deal. So in this particular case, All TV shows I've watched, by the way. So boom. Um, what do you call it? So in this particular case, it's hard for him to think like an actual oppressed person because he's never actually been oppressed. When you think about the Avengers, for the most part, they love them, they hate them, people love them, they hate them, whatever. X-Men, they pretty much always hate them. But the Fantastic Four has always been this is America's family. This is the world's family. This is Marvel's first family. This is the big deal. Everybody has always loved the Fantastic Four. They, as a whole, have never known oppression. It's one of the main reasons why Reed Richards wasn't able to understand Captain America's point. What's the problem with our government? What's the problem with registering our powers? It's not that big of a deal. Look, Spider Man can do it. Why can't you guys do it too? Captain America, they already know your identity. What's in it for you to defend all these other people who don't want their identities to be known? I don't understand. What's the problem? He genuinely didn't understand. Smart as he could be, he's a genius in matters of science. He's not a genius in matters of standard social human interactions. He's really dumb in that regard. So when he says to them, you should have stayed, you should stay in the neighborhoods, like that's why we're here in the neighborhood. Because, like we've always thought that everything was okay. Wrong answer. And Chip Zdarsky knows this. He did that on purpose. This, I have no doubt, he did on purpose. They have never been at 4 Yancey Street. That's only recent. That's only like this year they've been at 4 Yancey Street. And it does put the neighborhood in tremendous amounts of danger. They should know this because when they're in the Four Freedoms Plaza or the Baxter Building, that place was always, for crying out loud, the Baxter Building, Dr. Doom brought it up into space one time, and all the residents on there were pissed off, like, dude, what are you? This is your fault. I know he did it, but it's your fault. He's doing it because of you. We're just caught up in this. That's not cool. Like, bruh, they've always been in danger. So now here's a little street where, like, here's your front door, as opposed to having to go through a doorman and robot security. Nah, dude, you're less protected than freaking what do you call it? The Sanctum Sanctorum, with that killer hedge, saying that hedge of doom that Norman Osborn couldn't even get by. That darn hedge. That was good writing, by the way. Anyhow, so he should know this. He should know this. But when you've always had people like you, saying when you're the school jock who's like really good at this, that, and the other thing, and you get bad grades, but who cares because the professors always let you go, and everybody always wants to hang out with you because like you're the popular kid, and all the girls want to be with you because well this guy's full of confidence, and we're all just dumb kids, and oh look here's some actual confidence. Maybe I can learn. It's hard for that person to be able to look down far enough to say, how come this super smart kid isn't more popular? How come that super hot chick isn't more confident? How come, how come, how come? Because he's literally the center of the universe, in that school at least. So now we look over to Reed Richards, literally the most important man in the entire Marvel universe. I mean, even with fans who for the most part don't care. But when all of a sudden they said, "Oh, Luna Lafayette is smarter than Reed Richards," what? What is this? What is this SJW crap? No, no, no. I think I can rest my case. But when this guy turns around and he says, "What? You should have just stayed because these are things that'll work out naturally." That's cute. Now imagine that you are a plantation owner way back in the in pre-Civil War days, okay, 400 years ago. You're a plantation owner, you've got a cotton field and a tobacco field and all these fields, and you're making money hand over fist. You just make, give me that money, right? And suddenly somebody, Kang the Conqueror comes in and says, hey, check this out. Look at what's going to happen in the future. Your time is numbered. And this guy who's got a good heart but is Reed Richards level dumb, he says, hold on. And he calls in a slave from the field and says, come in here. Look at this before the portal closes. Look, in the future, in 400 years, 400 is a long time from now because slaves weren't allowed to, by law, to read or write. But what do you call it? In the future, this is what you'll have. You'll be able to bond with the rest of humanity and walk down the streets a free man. That's great. So you're saying that I'll never see that? You're saying my kids will never see that. You're saying that maybe, just maybe, my great, great, great grandchildren will see that. That's what you're arguing with me. Yeah. So eventually it'll get better. Tell that to people who work in a sweatshop in Bangladesh or in China. Don't worry. Eventually things will get better. What about right now? Hope only works if you can actually see that light. And for Reed Richards to say that was one of the most abhorrent, reprehensible things he could possibly say. It's no wonder the X-Men got triggered and got mad at him. And that's when all of a sudden the hurt started showing up, right? The things that were said in this comic book, man. Ben Grimm was, of course, mad at Reed Richards. He's like, you screwed up royally right now, dude. You screwed up royally. Because what did he go and do? He went and he took without even permission, without even saying, listen, here's the reason why I want to do this, son. I want to hide your X gene because I'm afraid that somebody's going to target you as a mutant for assassination or something. Maybe that would have been easier. Maybe if that conversation, if that dialogue was there, if there was a decision there, as opposed to you're doing this to me. You just invaded my cells. Wow, man. He goes and he does something like this to take that decision away from him. And he's so stupid. You could tell he didn't understand that that was a bad thing because he explains to his son, well, explain. He tells his son, yeah, I did it, but it's because such and such and such. Okay, so I'm seeing something down here that, I got to stop looking here. Personally, I think Reed is in the right. He's trying to protect his son the only way he knows how, and personally, he reminds me of my own dad. When that's your experience, it's cool. I don't know your background. I literally don't know anything about you, Andrew. But like, there's lots of different ways that that can be interpreted. Um, Rocky Johnson, The Rock. Okay, The Rock in his first, I think he only has the one book, but I read his book and he's, and his father, Rocky Johnson, Hall of Famer, just died recently. God rest his soul, because he was a freaking amazing wrestler. Um, when he and Tony Atlas, first black tag team champions of the world, freaking awesome. Anyway, I'm a wrestling buff. So when The Rock was being bullied at school for being a half breed, the Rock's dad went down to the school and he was like, "Hey, what's your problem, kids? You're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing whatever. Blah, 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 blah. You think you're tough? Come on and take me on. What is that? My son says that you pulled a knife on him. You got a knife?" He pulls out his own little switchblade. Not a switchblade, yeah, maybe a switchblade, whatever, a little pocket knife, folding knife. He's like, "I got a knife too. You want to go?" Rocky's dad was just doing what he thought was best. Now, here's the way I look at it. That was stupid. With all due respect, saying that was stupid. Maybe back in the day, maybe apparently that, according to The Rock, that was the right thing to do. But me personally, I'm thinking, I'm going home, I'm telling my dad. My dad is more than happy to come out and he's not going to have a conversation with that father. He's going to knock on the door. That guy's going to open up the door. He's going to say, "That him?" "Yes." And that's just the first shot. He would happily walk into the house and beat the living crap out of that guy for pulling a knife on me, even if it was just, show of intimidation. Now, who's right in the situation? Rocky's dad or my dad? Maybe everybody's wrong, you know? It's the idea of we have to stop, in many ways, we have to stop thinking that we know best because we don't. Parenting doesn't come with a manual. I've got 4 kids. I am positive they're all going to have all sorts of crazy things going on in their lives. You know what I'm saying? And they're going to be like traumatized from like, my dad makes a fool of himself every day on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever it is. Like, I try not to involve them too much, but like they want to be involved. So, it is what it is. But I mean, like, they're all different. You can't raise kids all the same way. You can't raise them the way that you were raised because it's a different time period and you're not your parents. You know what I'm saying? There has to be more interaction with our kids. You know how I get my kids to eat? I give them a choice, two choices. What do you want to eat today? This or this? What do you want me to make for dinner? This or this? Parenting advice. Hey, comic book university. It's not comic book class. It's comic book university. Okay. So we talk about everything here, including home ec, apparently. What do you want to eat? I'll give you the choice between this and this tonight. These are the things that I want to make. What do you want to eat? And they get to decide. And this way, even if it's something that they otherwise wouldn't like, but you chose it, right? That's true. Hey, if you want, I'll just take away your choices. I won't let you choose. And this is literally with a 4 and a 6-year old boys. So I'm saying, um, I give them a lot of choices that they can make so that they do understand the idea of choice making. Otherwise, if we're constantly making these choices for them, I mean, Franklin is a smart kid for the most part. Compared to Valeria, he's a dumbass, but he's a smart kid and he is going to be responsible for his life at some point. So why is it, I'm going to make decisions for you until you're 18, then you can make your own decisions. And what? Hope that you learn from my decisions? Hope that you didn't judge me negatively? How about let's get to know my kid better and let them make decisions and see where their decisions are. Maybe try and guide those decisions in the beginning by limiting their choices, and pretty soon give more and more freedom, more and more ability to make broader decisions about bigger subjects. Now instead of specified decisions, general decisions, and see where is my kid actually going. And Reed literally did not understand that. It's so funny that we can all be the rebellious youth, but when we get adults, we're like, no, we've got to protect our kids from doing that. Boomers, if there are any boomers here, sorry, I'm going to talk about you. I talk about everybody, though, including us Gen Xers. But boomers, all right? They did all the drugs in the world. They did all the drugs in the world. I was just talking to somebody on Tuesday who went to Woodstock, got stoned off his freaking mind, all 3 days involved, whatever, blah, 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 right? Dude was a straight up stoner. And nowadays, these kids are smoking too much pot nowadays. Are you kidding me? Did you really just say that? That's where the okay boomer thing comes from. Like, come on, man. Um, Literally, we have to understand that. And unfortunately, Reed simply didn't get that here. He made the most basic parenting mistake you can make, and that is making a decision for your kids. Ah, man, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Um, let's see. I like that professor. Wish my father gave me more decisions to make growing up. Ended up being quite the indecisive person. I am sorry, Nocturnal. Um, yeah, unfortunately, we're all going to make mistakes as parents. And that's part of the beauty of growing up. You know what I'm saying? Is there are going to be, we're all perfectly imperfect. We're all created to be perfectly imperfect. And that's something, being raised Catholic, that I had to come to a decision on my own, because a lot of guilt. You're responsible for everything. Hey, these people, long before you were born, ate an apple, a quipe, but ate an apple beforehand, and like now they're naked, and this one has to have babies, and this one's got to work all the time, and like all that. That's your fault. I wasn't even there. I didn't even get a choice in the decision. I didn't even get a vote. How is that my fault? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a big deal. It's a big freaking deal. It's a lot of weight to put on people. It was a snake. It was a snake. We didn't even know what snakes were at the time. It was a snake. Like, we didn't know, man. Like, how am I responsible for this? So, I had to come to the conclusion. I have been created perfectly imperfect. I am exactly how I was created to be. And if I was supposed to be anybody else, I would have had different parents. I would have been born in a different place. Something, everything would have been different, you know? But anyway, all that being said, Reed made the biggest bonehead decision here. But everybody acted impotent, childlike. Basically, they were just pedantic. You know what I'm saying? Why can I not focus on that word? Anyway, they were all pedantic. They're all childlike, and it was freaking ridiculous. So yeah, there was a lot of insensitivity here, And I know there's a lot of people who are usually classified as sociopaths by psychologists. There are a lot of people who say, "Oh, bleeding heart libs," and blah 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 blah. It can get taken too far, like the tree hugger thing. It can be taken too far. But for the most part, sensitivity is important. It is important to actually be able to love, to have empathy, to have sympathy at the very least, but to have empathy, to to understand someone else's plight. And literally, Reed is a typical controlling dad, and he just doesn't get it. And he's never really gotten anything, and that's one of the wonderful aspects of the Reed Richards character is he's never actually gotten it, you know? So all that being said, nobody was right in this comic book, and I'm glad that Cyclops was at the end. Hey, how'd it go? It's literally like, yeah, say I'm wrong now, motherfucker. Like it was great. When Cyclops was at the end, hey, so how'd it go? I laughed my ass off at that moment. I thought that was freaking perfect. Anyway, guys, yeah, I am at it. Well, actually, no, I'm not out of here. I'm gonna look at some more of the questions really quick. Didn't read the. Oh no, hold on. First off, here. Didn't read to power him. It just happened. Wait, who is this? Petulant. Petulant means childlike. You'd say a petulant child, a disobedient child. It happened because, hey, Scott, what's up? It happened because Reed tried to dampen his power signature, though, right? No, no, no. He wasn't trying to dampen his power signature. If that was the case, wouldn't it be interesting if it was as simple as that? You try to hide his mutant gene, and that's the reason why the God power, if that's even the case, won't get to him. Maybe that's why he doesn't have his powers now because you hid his mutant signature. Hmm. Hmm. You know, like this is realistically no different than calling a way to dampen the X gene. It's no different than calling it a cure. It's like being a mutant isn't a disease. Being gay isn't a disease. Being black isn't a disease. Being what else? Being a woman isn't a disease. You know what I'm saying? Like all of these little really don't forget religion. Being a Muslim isn't, a disease. All of these different things. Like people are normal. They're all created exactly the way they're supposed to be. All of that stuff. Like just stop. It's things that don't bother you. You know what I'm saying? It's things that don't bother you. And there's different approaches to it. There are the people who are straight up anti-mutant, you know what I'm saying? And think about that. I don't want to see two guys kissing. Well, then don't look. Don't look. I don't know what to tell you because two guys being gay, literally, quite literally, has zero effect on me. Zero, zilch, nada, nothing. Big fat goose egg. So I don't care. So that's being and here's the thing. That's like being anti or that's like not being racist. Okay. Then there's also what's called anti-racist, which means that you actively seek to stop racism or call out racism when you see it. The woman in front of you is black and the person or no, the woman in front of you is whatever and the person over here is black and somebody starts saying, negative connotations towards this person, throwing up some pejoratives, throwing up some insults, and you just sit there. It's like, oops, what just happened there? Anyway, it's like, oh, I'm not racist, so I'm not going to join in. Or you could be anti-racist and you do join in to stop this idiot from saying what they're saying. Hey, that's not appropriate. What the hell's the matter with you? You're attacking this person for being what God made this person? What the hell is the matter with you? Dude, you're a disgusting, wretched human being. Like something along those lines, or at the very least, that's how I would do it. You just be like, okay, that's not appropriate. That's not cool. Excuse me, inside voice, right? Like I mean, actually trying to stop this. There's a huge difference right there. Um, there's a huge difference right there, and that's pretty much Reed. Reed is like, I'm not against mutants, but I'm not going to actively stand up for mutants. You know what I'm saying? And that was, and he still really just didn't understand. He practically gave it a, have you ever tried not being a mutant? He practically had one of those moments for crying out loud. It's like he never talks to his son. He never tried to talk to his son. He never gave his son any decisions. He never tried to include him in the decision-making process. He literally screwed up so royally. It actually hurts me inside that this guy is considered the smartest person in the world. And maybe, honestly, maybe that's one of the reasons why I loved and embraced the idea of Lunella Lafayette being the most brilliant person. Hey, I'm cool with Valeria being smart too, smarter than Reed. Anybody can be smarter than Reed, whatever. But literally, with Moon Girl, she doesn't exactly have all of her emotions intact right now, but she does at least have emotions. So I don't need her to be inventing everything, reinventing the wheel or something like that. But I do want to see her just being out there and not just being book smart. I want to actually see her being genuinely smart. Yeah, I don't know why his hair is black now. That is kind of a weird thing, right? Oh, nope, just missed it. Wow, it keeps on jumping. um, let's see. Oh, because he doesn't read any of their books. I don't know. Whatever. Oh, actually, did Terry Dodson do the colors? Oh, maybe it's Laura Martin who didn't read any books because she could have erased that stuff. They do that all the time. It's all digital. She could just erase out of it. So anyway, Subham, what's going on, Subham? Oh, Professor, finished reading them and wow, they're awesome. I love Reed, but yeah, sometimes he's too much. Agreed. Reed is just simply too much sometimes. Wilfredo, Teenage Rebellion, 100%. But then again, why do some of us in the chat are kids? Some of us simply remember what it was like to be a kid. You know what I'm saying? What is Teenage Rebellion? Teenagers only rebel when they're not given choices, when they're not giving any real authority over their lives. Um, my daughters never rebelled against me. They rebelled against their mom. You know what I'm saying? That's not my wife, and it's. Anyway, they rebelled against their mom big time. You know what I'm saying? But they never rebelled against me because I was always like, hey, what's up? Let's talk. Hey, cool. Hey, you don't want to talk about something? That's cool. But you know what? I raised you. You're my kid. So you know what? Well, that's usually when somebody say, so it's my house, it's my rules. You do what I, no, no, no. Like I raised you. You're my kid. So I know that you're going to make a good decision. It's cool. And if you don't, we'll fix it. Pound it and you're out. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the dad I am. Really easygoing. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel the need to threaten my daughter's boyfriends. Okay, now listen, you look at me. I'm a former military, all right? I will whoop your ass. Listen, I will put you in a body bag. They will never find you. Okay, I'll put you right next to Jimmy Hoffa. Okay, like that'll be the last thing you know is where that dude is buried. Right? Don't you? I don't need to do that because my daughters can take care of themselves. My daughters know how to say what, and if they don't, then they'll tell me. And then dad gets to handle business. You know what I'm saying? Keep in practice. Anyway, um, oh, they actually have him dyeing his hair in the series? Oh, well, there you go. What's up, John Wright? Reed Richards trying to be in the right gets it wrong 100%. I'm going to figure out the solution to um, what exactly was he trying to? I forget what he was trying to do. You remember in the Civil War, right before the Civil War started, he brought in the Mad Thinker, and he's like, "I need you to help me out with the math on this." And that's when the thinker was like, it was a great Reed Richards moment. I've been trying to defeat you with my brains, and I'm literally a caveman with sticks and fire trying to defeat you. I didn't realize what you actually are. You know what I'm saying? What exactly was it that he was doing? It's like I'm trying to do an equation. Was it the equation of human happiness or it wasn't the equation of everything, was it? Is the equation of human happiness and like the biggest variable was humanity in and of itself. I forget exactly what it was, but like that was a big deal. That was a big moment pre-Civil War. Trying to remember what that was. Anyway, yeah, I got to go back and start doing a bunch of spotlights and stories and just start telling the entire history of the freaking Marvel universe, and then maybe I'll get around to doing the DC universe too, or maybe somebody else would do the DC universe, and that would be really helpful to me. I'm just saying, but yeah, to chronicle everything, every major important event that's ever happened. That's actually a goal that I have. Um, Probably gonna have to start with the advent of the X-Men, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, guys, I think I'm gonna boogie on out of here. Help figure it out. He's trying to defeat himself. I think that was I think that was the original thing. I explored how much Reed was bullied as a kid. I just bounced. I would love to see a work by someone where all of Reed's qualities stem from he was severely bullied. Huh? Da, da, da. Professor kind of looked like Reed in this comic. I'm starting to get some grays in my hair, man. It's pretty cool. You feel he was severely bullied in school. It's a possibility. Do you want to see? Do you want to see Mystique mention that Emma had Jumbo resurrected and point out how useless the guy is? I love continuity, so I wanted to mention in X-Men 6, it's going crazy over Destiny. See, he's not completely useless, but you also have to think about what the Morlocks are, what they've always been. It's not just the idea they're ugly. I mean, look at Nightcrawler. I know there's going to be a bunch of women in chat right now. You take that back, you son of a bitch. What do you call it? Like Nightcrawler, Beast. Like nobody's gonna have a problem with Beast, right? He's cuddly. You want to marry him? Well, no. Okay, then shut up. Look at Wolverine for crying out loud. Is he a catch? He might be something that you would catch. He looks like something you would catch. Hey, man, as I was walking around through the mud without my shoes, and all of a sudden I caught something. You know what I'm saying? It's like Wolverine looks like a foot disease. I mean, for crying out loud. There's some ugly X-Men, but the Morlocks are more than just the people who don't want to come on the surface because of the way they look and whatnot. They're also people who, in general, I'm not talking about Leech, all right, and certain other characters, but in general, a lot of their powers were really like, no, my power is how I look. Oh, I've got claws. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I've got the power to, I don't know, fart. Like whatever. They've got like silly little powers most of the time. They're not Most of them don't have powers that they can actually go out and be like actual, contributing members to X-Men. Eye-Boy. How the heck did Eye-Boy even get on Gen X? He should have been a Morlock. I'm just saying. The problem is they don't have enough Visine down there for the poor guy. He's got to take a Visine head bath every so often. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, yeah, he should be Visine Boy. So, like in general, it just is what it is. Oh, for crying out loud, Sue Ann. I knew that. Why did I know it was going to be you? Oh my God, Federico Blee, how are you up this late? Um, I tried not being a mutant. It worked. You are so wrong. No, I'm going to disagree because the mutant ability to color awesome comic books. Um, wow. Anyway, it's funny. I think that we are in the same time zone, aren't we? Okay. I am going to jet because it is 1:30 in case you guys didn't notice. Yeah. So I got to be at work in a couple hours and I've still got a couple comic books I want to finish. So all the love in the world. Oh, hey, check it out. Next comic book I have to read. So that review should be coming out in the morning. We'll see what's up. Yeah, and I'm out. Love you guys. Genuinely. All right. Peace. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.